So Tiffany, when you asked me to do this, I was like, yes, because I got an early read of White Smoke, and when I finished it, I was like, there's some more bills Tiffany can pay for my therapy sessions. All I wanted was to ask you questions. And I came with questions, and you're going to answer them. This whole event is like just for me, basically. Is what I've decided.
It's just us, yes. Which
Yes.
I have to say, thank you so much for. I know you're working on your next novel, so thank you for coming out of your writer cave to,
Oh my God, yes.
yes.
Any
So
excuse to leave the writer cave. Isn't like half of writing not writing?
exactly.
So Serena did like a great job of describing, giving the summary of the novel. So I'm just gonna ask what inspired it? Like there's so much to it, and it all comes together so seamlessly. It's like your mind. Tell me more about your mind.
Like, where did I even like, oh gosh.
Yes.
So I was visiting Detroit, Michigan, a couple years ago, and it was my first time there. And I've heard a lot about the city and a lot of what happened after, of course, the crash basically, and I heard a lot about like empty homes, but actually seeing it was a totally different like
Right.
experience for me because I'm a New Yorker, we're all like kind of like stacked on top of each other, so the idea that there are just all these empty houses, like streets just full of empty houses, was just mind-boggling to me. I would literally stand in the middle of the street, I'm like, there's literally no one around. how is
God.
how are you guys like, how's it?
Surreal.
Yeah, it felt so surreal to me. And then I started talking to other people and I heard about this urban legend. And it sort of fit very nicely with another case that I have been, because all of my books are based on some type of case, of this case of a somewhat of a haunting that happened in Japan. This was like kind of my first sort of
Ooh.
international case, I guess. And so I sort of fused both of the ideas together. I'm like, okay, how can I make these two things like work? Um, and that's basically how it happened. It just was sort of magical at the same time, because I kept like texting people about this house. I was all these houses. I was like, do you know? Like, does anyone else know? Am I
I mean,
like,
it's got so much going on, but it's all like you had so many things up in the air at once, and then you like caught it all, and then you brought it all together. And I just remember finishing that book, and I was like, when you read a good book, like I feel it makes you want to write. So every time I put down a Tiffany Jackson book, it's just like I want to write. Like it's just so inspiring. Like I don't expect that I'll write something as good as a Tiffany Jackson book, but it's like it's so motivating, when you just see someone at the peak of their craft. And that's what I really felt when I put White Smoke down. I was like, she's on the top of her game. And I think that every time I finish one of your books, like, how do you keep doing that? Like, can you bottle and sell it, please? I will buy it. It's like,
gosh.
give
And
me some of that.
I mean, that's huge because I already like fangirl over you like all the time. So this is,
We
yes.
met at like y'all fest, was it? Like,
I met at a Y'all Fest years ago before I ever even like published. And I saw you like sitting on the stairs. I was like, oh my God, I love you so
but
much.
your book was on. It was on the way. It was
It
coming
was on
out.
the way, but I
Yeah,
still was like, but I love you.
yeah. It was, and now basically we've done a lot of events together. We've got like this
Yeah.
whole thing going on here. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so this, like, speaking of White Smoke, scary things, this is like a bit of a departure for you, but I don't think it's that much of one because there's a way that you write thrillers and the twists and turns and the tension, for you to progress naturally to something more horror tinged. It just makes perfect sense to me. I was like, oh my God, yes, this is exactly what the genre needs.
Yeah.
And like you totally brought it. So I was like, were you nervous approaching the category? Was there anything unexpected about writing it?
Um, to answer your question, yes, I was nervous because I love horror. I've been, into horror since I was like 4 years old. Like
Uh,
I'm a huge horror junkie, like behind the scenes, or
yeah.
not really behind the scenes, because I talk about horror movies all the time. But I think what was different about the idea about like writing them, it takes a different type of skill. Um, because I'm used to, horror is more of a five senses type of experience.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of times, particular horror novels are told from like, sort of like a narrator's point of view, like the bird's eye point of view. And I was telling one from a first person. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
I had to delay some things. I had to like figure things out. And it was like, I tried maybe writing a chapter in third person, and that was a disaster. And also I was writing this book in the middle of a pandemic. And so that also kind of played into, you know, my writer's block. It was the first time I ever had writer's block
Right.
ever. And I thought the book was broken, but actually I was broken. So it just,
Oh my gosh. Were you relieved or were you like, no, this is worse than I thought? Like when you come to that kind of revelation, it's like, it's not the book, it's me.
me, like I kept like asking other authors, like in the midst of like, you know, like that April where everyone was in the house, I kept asking other people, like, can you work? Like, why can't I work? What's wrong with me? So that was like the first time I really experienced that. And I was sort of in the middle of drafting this novel. So I felt a little like I was playing catch up in a lot of ways. But yeah, this was a natural pivot because I knew at one point I was going to do this. I can't go from like reading all of just like R.L. Stine books and Stephen King books to then just writing
Right.
thrillers. I knew it was going to happen. I just had to find the right story. And this was nice, a mixture between both thriller aspect and horror aspect. So it was a good jumping off point for me.
It was like it was a perfect marriage because like there's like the hallmarks of the tension that you weave so well and the character work. I hope like it should never go undiscussed how good you are at getting into people's heads because your characters, they're just so strong. They're so voicey. You're so in it with them that by the time something happens to them that you don't see coming, it's like you're both getting punched in the stomach
All
at the same time, right? So I feel like horror was really served by your talents here in the thriller space. Like it was just, I don't know, I feel like I was waiting for this book and I was like, this is everything I wanted. And it was. So you love horror, which we've just touched on briefly, and you've been a fan of the genre since like you said, you were 4 years old. How does that happen? What's the first movie you shouldn't have seen when you're 4 years old?
I'm trying to think. I think one of the earliest horror movies that really actually scared me was Child's Play with Chucky.
Have you seen the new one?
No, not yet, because I'm still traumatized.
Oh,
I think because I had like a doll collection. So
oh no.
the idea of these dolls coming to life was so scary for me. I was like, oh, absolutely not. But
No.
there were other ones too that I watched. I remember watching Carrie when I was really young and just being
Carrie.
fascinated by it.
The
Um,
blood. My God.
yeah, so there was just so much stuff that I was like, and then by the time I like got to a point where, you know, I could read, it was teachers who put books in my hands, horror books in my hands. And I'm trying to think of like the first book. It was kind of like, you know, one of those scary stories to tell in the dark sort of
Oh
anthology.
God, those little anthologies that were just like, oh yes, and the headless women. Like, yes,
Yes,
those traumatized me.
I like would take it out constantly. And by the time that we had like a scholastic book fair, literally my teacher walked me over to a section and was like, you would like this. And it was the first R.L. Stine book.
Because I have a question related. We'll get to that, but I love that. That just gave me like a little bit of that's so. Child's Play was the movie that sort of started this whole thing, or was close to it. What
But
is your most recent favorite scary movie? Well, it
I
doesn't have to be recent, just one that you would love and auto recommend, especially to readers of White Smoke.
um oh, so for readers of White Smoke, there's this movie on Netflix called Aftermath. So I would read it after you watch White Smoke. I mean, sorry, not watch, but read White Smoke. I also was just watching Malignant, which is on HBO
That's a good
Max.
one.
Yeah, that was incredibly creepy, incredibly creepy. The right kind of like touches of scariness. And of course, we're about to go into scary movie season of October.
Yes,
And
finally.
I always tell myself like, oh, I'm gonna watch like a horror movie every day, and it ends up being
Right.
the week of, and I'm like, oh right, yeah,
That's because you're watching them all year round.
yeah,
It's like
that's
almost like
that's
October comes
true.
to burnout time. It's like we've been
Yeah,
here and you guys just caught up to us.
yeah. Literally,
Yeah.
me and Lamar Giles, who's also a huge horror lover, like we literally just go back and forth and trade like movies. Like, he just told me about something called The Roommate, or roommate, I think it's on Showtime. So I had to like sign up for like the free preview to watch that. About to
Love
cancel
it.
next week. So
So from Night of the Living Dead, this is what I love about horror is there's always a space for social and political commentary. So like you get it in movies like Night of the Living Dead, and you get it in movies like Get Out, and I think it's a great space to introduce audiences to these like really weighty topics. And White Smoke is no exception here because you talk about gentrification, you talk about racism, you talk about the justice system, and you weave it all very like perfectly into this thrills and chills, page turner. But then you're stopping and you're going, oh wait a second, like there's a lot more going on here, and it's particularly aimed at a YA audience, which is a younger set of readers who are finding their way in this world. Like, what do you hope beyond the thrills and chills, which they'll definitely get out of this book, but what do you hope they're going to take away from the weightier narrative components of White Smoke?
um I think, damn, that's a really good question. I think one of the things that I hope readers take away from this particular book is how complicated, how everything is very intertwined, and how complicated things are in terms of how it has affected people of color. So when I talk about gentrification, it's multi-layered. It's not just like,
Right.
oh, white people just moved into these areas. There was also a push to get them out. There was a push to make it look like, have those areas look a certain way until people can do nothing else but leave or get
Right.
evicted. And then, those things tend to happen. So one of the things that happened while I was researching for this novel, particularly the stories about the recession in Detroit, is just hearing about how all of the homes, most of the homes are actually owned by people. All these empty homes are actually owned by real estate investors and stuff like that, but they leave them looking that way on purpose. And so I'm just kind of like, but why? Why are you
Right.
doing it this way? And then when you go deeper and deeper, just like an onion, you keep just going layer after layer,
Right.
and you find out a bit more information. You're like, this is actually very malicious. Like, this is intentionally evil. So this sort of like real estate, like racism, like trauma about it, that how it affects like communities. Of course, there is a horror aspect to that. So I never actually, and the interesting thing is like a lot of my novels are dark and they touch upon like
Right.
some type of social issue, but I never actually start out that way. Like I was just really,
Oh,
I was just really more or less like obsessed with the fact that all these empty homes
uh,
exist. But then once I got into the reason why they were empty and why they exist, that's why I was like, oh, I need to like sew this into the novel. So I think, and that happens with everything that I cover. All of a sudden I learned something and I'm like, wait, like, so this is the reason why this happens and this is the reason why this exists. So I think that that's one of the biggest things that I hope that kids take away, that it's very much a game of chess. This whole like
right.
a domino effect of how people exist, I suppose, is affected, and everything is like, even the pawns have like a role to play. And so
Right.
if you know that, how the game is played, how to actually support people who are in the midst of it as well too. And that's honestly what I'm hoping, is that kids kind of grow up and know exactly how things work. So I think that's hopefully that was a very rambling answer, but
That was a good answer. I was thinking like how you have like the close first person perspective, like because these are like you said, they're multi-layered and they're very like it's not just one thing. There are many things happening here, and we're filtering them all through one perspective, a teenage girl. And I think it's really clever because you can only really, at the end of the day, tell one story, right? You have to be able to touch on these things and do them justice, but you can't encompass everything in a single story. So the
yeah,
way you related it through like the moving in experience, this young girl who is going through such a trying, hard time, and her universe is expanding in these most like cruel and terrifying ways. I just thought it was really well balanced because there's enough there to ask more questions, which I think is really important. Like you want a novel that doesn't say it's going to answer everything that it's posing, but it's giving you the tools to go and reach for more, to find out more. And I think you did that so well. I was like, It's just, again, it's just the many things you have working in this novel. I just think on a craft level, it's really exceptional. And this is just, that's all we're going to talk about is how exceptional you are. It's just, it's such a good book. God. Okay, this question is actually, this is not the, for anyone who hasn't read White Smoke yet, you're so lucky. I wish I could watch you read it because it's going to freak you out. But like, there's this thread with bed bugs. I
Yeah.
just talk more about that, please. What inspired that? What was the research process like? Did you live something like that? I'm like, what happened here? Like, what did bed bugs do to Tiffany? Like, what happened here?
So I had bed bugs back in 2015.
I didn't want that to be your answer. I just wanted to
Yeah,
be like, I didn't know. I read about it.
yeah. I had bed bugs back in 2015, and it was an incredibly traumatizing experience to the point
Yes.
that I am a lot like Mari in a way. Like I see a speck and I immediately go like, oh my God.
It's
Most
not funny at all. Like, it's like really like I can't even read about that. I just get itchy. It's just
it was its own pandemic here in New York. And it affects the way that you trust people because you're like, who brought bed bugs? Or was it
oh
me?
God, yeah.
Whatever. It's like, how do you fix it? How do you get rid of it? And a lot of times you do have to basically like, set fire to your whole home and like start all over again. And then you're never sure if they're like truly, truly gone. So like from 2015, maybe 2018, I just had like issues with everything. I wouldn't let people in my home.
That's reasonable. That is an absolute proportionate response to bed
It,
bugs.
that's basically kind of where like a lot of my furniture is like light for a reason.
Right.
A lot of my clothes, I don't wear a lot of black.
Oh no.
Yeah, I like it's just simply because I'm like, I need to see everything. I need to see everything. And so it was, and like even just like the bites itself, I was, I thought I had bites and then it wouldn't be there. And then I finally talked to a doctor and he was like, okay, chill out. Like,
It's just stress. It's the
yeah, it's
trauma.
really just stress because I honestly thought that I had them forever and it wasn't. It was literally just stress.
Did writing help you at all? Like come to terms with it, or
It
did it make
did.
it worse? Oh really? I would have
It
been
did actually, because I was kind of like,
wow.
I wasn't crazy. Like the things I was kind of like going and feeling through, like I wasn't crazy around this time. Like, no, like this is actually a real condition. Now, what Mari had in the book was like severe anxiety.
Right.
Mine was more just like, this is so annoying,
Yeah.
and just frustrating and just wanting things to just like be okay. Especially, as authors, we're home a lot, even before the pandemic.
Yes.
A lot writing. So, just not feeling comfortable in your own home is unbearable in a lot of ways. So yeah, that was a traumatic experience for me. I'll never forget it. I'm glad I was able to put it in the book and kind of add to that. And sometimes I wasn't sure, like, like, do people from other places understand how bad bed bugs are? Like how bad it is and how like
if they don't, they will after they read your
I
book. Like
that's my hope here.
you're gonna set off a lot of oh my gosh, just I can't even think about it. I was like even asking the question. I kind of wish I hadn't because now I'm gonna like go after this is over and just start like peering really closely at things and make sure.
I mean, when I tell you every hotel I go to, I lift up sheets, I move things around. I don't let them come back into my room to clean anything. Like it has changed literally the way I have lived my life. God. And then now we have a pandemic where literally I'm walking around with masks, I'm cleaning everything. I like Clorox wipes are my friends. Like it just, yeah.
It's never ending. My God. R.L. Stine. Oh, before I get to my next question, just want to remind people, if you have questions for Tiffany, put them in the Q&A and we'll get to them pretty shortly. But my questions are still first. So R.L. Stine is like, he's a fan of yours. You're a fan of his. You did an event with him, which is like two icons colliding. That is like the coolest thing. What is your favorite R.L. Stine book? And have you seen the Fear Street movies yet?
Oh, damn. So favorite R.L. I think it's The Haunted Mask.
Oh, with the thing that like you become the evil mask person wearer.
Definitely The Haunted Mask. There's a Scarecrow one that I was like,
I love the Scarecrow one.
The Scarecrow
walks
one,
at midnight.
Yes. And the dummy.
Slappy
Slappy the dummy. And I think it's not Night of the Living Dummy, it's just
It is Night of the Living Dummy.
oh,
I'm
okay.
pretty sure.
Yeah, those are definitely like top 3 favorite. The first R.L. Stine book I ever bought was actually Monster's Blood.
Oh, nice.
And I think that was like that was like the first one to begin with, I think. So, oh no, it is. It definitely is. Because they re-released it and then, you know, of course it continued on as a series. And yes, I did watch the Fear Street series. I did an event with him and some of the actresses from the series, and that was amazing.
So cool.
It was such a great series. Like it was like the perfect kind of nostalgia I needed during the middle of the summer, because summer is like a good time to watch.
It is.
Yeah, right.
It feels right.
It feels right. It's like Halloween and summer is like the
Yes.
the perfect time to watch all these movies. Of course, I like, you know, sat here. I watched the second movie of the series like 3 times. Like I love
The summer camp one.
Summer camp one.
Yeah.
That was dope. It was
so good.
yeah.
God. I just think that's so cool. It's just, oh man. Were you nervous?
Yes. I'm always nervous. Like even when we sent him this book to blurb, because I wasn't going to, I was just like too nervous to do it. I was like, no, he's gonna hate it, and then like, you know, it'll be over. My life will be over.
R.L. Stine loved it. Everyone, he loves it.
Like he like turned in that blurb like really, really early. Like he barely had it like 2 weeks.
Because everyone wants to say they were the first person to read The Amazing Thing. Knows what he's doing.
I was just like, oh my God. So yes, amazing. And of course, like he was complimenting me during our event, and I had to like hold it together because I was like, I would lose cry in front of R.L. Stine. But like my best friend was like texting me on the side, like, you're about to cry.
That's so cute. I love that so much. Okay, so you are, I think it's a fact of the YA category now. You're like the queen of the twist, the plot twist. Like literally, if anyone wants to try, go home. It's Tiffany. Like honestly. So what is the best, and you can get spoilery here, just ruin something for everyone that's here. What is a plot twist in a movie, television, or book that you've read that's your gold standard? It blew you away and you just, everything you write just kind of aspires to be it.
Oh. Damn. I don't know my gold standard. Like the one that like inspired me to like continue to do plot twists and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, randomly, and at this point, y'all should have seen this movie, Shutter Island, like that plot twist.
Yeah, that was a good
sort
one.
of like one of those, oh wow, I liked how that happened. Just thinking about movies in general that have plot twists. But I read this book called Behind Her Eyes, and I forgot the author's name.
Sarah Pinborough.
Thank you. Yeah. And of course, there's a Netflix series to it. And when I tell you, I listen to a lot of books because I'm always like cleaning and, you know, doing whatever. And literally, when the plot twist actually hit, I thought I was at the end of the book. So I went to turn off the book and something else happened. And I was just like, what is going on? I like, then I had that moment of like, oh, this is what people have been experiencing with allegedly, because I was like, I don't even know what to do with myself. I was up for hours just thinking about how she like.
You deserved that. You deserved that experience.
I deserved that slap. I deserved it. I was like, I got knocked out there. I was like, oh, Jesus. And I even had to like compliment her. I was just like, man, you did that.
It.
I was.
When that book came out, I think it had a hashtag campaign, and the campaign was WTF that ending.
That's actually.
Yeah. I know. I was like, man, I wish I thought of something like that. That was too good.
You had some awesome hashtags with your books, like.
Yeah, but I mean, what the fuck? That ending is a pretty good one. Like, that's a gold standard hashtag.
That's a gold standard hashtag. Yeah.
I had to write this down. This is like, okay, this is just to give you an idea of what Tiffany's year looked like. In January, this is the top of the year, you released The Awakening of Malcolm X. Then in June, you released Blackout, which was co-written with Danielle Clayton, Nick Stone, Ashley Woodfolk, Angie Thomas, and Nicola Yoon, like a powerhouse there. In July, you released The Grown paperback, and that was the BNN paperback pick of the month, right?
Yes.
Today we're talking about White Smoke, which comes out tomorrow. And then in October, you have a picture book debut Santa in the city. Are you okay? Like how do you stay on top of that? Like, what is your self-care plan? Like, what? How do you keep on? And presumably, you're working on something right now on top of it all.
I am. I'm working, I'm doing, kind of, so I do this thing where when I get an edit letter back, I print out the whole novel and then I do like hand edits.
Oh my
Um,
God, that
yeah,
seems like extra work. That's a
it,
lot.
it does, but like I need to, like I need, it's like texture. I need to
Yeah,
like,
tactile.
I need to like make a page bleed. And then that makes me, so
That's a
that
good quote. I need to make a page bleed. Tiffany Jackson. That is so good. Remember that, everyone.
and it's like it's kind of my brand, of course, too. And I'm working on the Way to Blood, which I'm really excited about. So um I have no idea how I got
Like that.
that. Absolutely no clue. What? So there were like, so a true story, like the Waking in Macanugs got pushed back. So it wasn't even supposed to be like in January, but then it became January.
Right.
Then we had this amazing book Blackout that kind of just was born out of the pandemic too. And so, that came out. And what really helped is actually having all these amazing, working with all these amazing women. So we all just have like a job to do. And so it's not just all on one person. So that
Right.
also really helped. And just working with like just incredibly talented people also just like kind of puts you at ease. Then there was a short story that came out in Up All Night that was in
Oh God, that's
July.
right. I missed that.
Yeah,
My God,
and then
Tiffany.
that's what I'm saying. It was just like so like out, like everything was just all over the place. And then the paperback of Grown came out. That was fun because that was also I felt like Grown just came out. Like I feel like it's still 2020.
Yeah,
I don't want to say that, but I do feel so like it's like I'm
it
still in the
does.
Twilight
Yeah.
Zone like experience. And then White Smoke, which for this to be my first like horror, I'm happy. I just wish we were doing this in person, of course. Like I
Yeah.
would want you to like fly down everything, like
God, yeah, that'd been awesome.
and
But I'll settle for this. I mean, this is pretty
I mean,
great.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is good too. And then the Christmas book, Stanton in the City, which is kind of like my own little memoir of how,
God.
me and my mom had our Christmas tradition, how I believed in Santa till I was like 10.
And that's a huge pivot from like scary stuff,
I,
scary thrillers, like a nice,
I
sweet
mean, I
picture
guess I've
book.
always been into holidays, like every holiday. I'm definitely like the person. I'm the captain of our friends team. Is like, okay, we have to have our Friendsgiving, and now we have to do
Oh
this.
my God.
Yeah,
I
I'm
love
that.
it.
I'm that girl. But I guess a lot of people have been asking me this question. I guess when you wait so long to live your dream, like it's very easy to kind of like keep on writing. I think Zora Neale Hurston like had this quote that I had 100 books under my skin.
Oh
That's
man.
just like a part of the book, a part of the quote, but I always think about that, how like, I have like hundreds of books like just sitting inside me. And so now I have the opportunity to write it.
But
And
that didn't mean you have to like release them all at once, which you did.
you're absolutely right. Um, but for some reason, that's like what I like, that's how I feel. It's just kind of like, it feels very easy. It's
Right.
everything else that's complicated. It's like the marketing, it's the,
God, yeah.
the touring, like that part is the hardest part for me. Because I'm not used to being this front of the camera.
Right.
I've had a very behind the scenes sort of like life before this. So that has been like the hardest part, is sort of being front and center. But otherwise, like, no, I love writing, and I would love to do this forever. So I guess, yeah, that's, but no, I did not mean to dump a whole bunch of books in one. It hopefully will not be this way moving forward. This is just
I don't actually think anyone's
magical year.
complaining about that. We just want to like make sure you're okay, like you have some time for yourself. Like I'll take all
Oh
the Tiffany books you want to release in a year, please. Like that's fine with me, but I'm aware there's an
I
author.
definitely have been like leaning into my self-care. I take trips. I do little staycations at hotels.
Oh, nice.
I've been touring New York hotels lately. just kind of taking a couple of days and chilling out.
That's a good idea.
I listen to a lot of podcasts, just to like, I fall asleep to listening to like true crime podcasts. That's also
I
very
that's
on.
also very on brand. Yes.
I wake up every morning and, I do about 30 minutes of prayer.
Nice.
I got
You
my
keep
dog.
yourself centered. Oh yeah, your cutie little dog. He's
Yes,
so sweet.
Sonny is also, he's a pain in the butt, but like, he also balances me because I can't just sit in my chair all day. I have to get up
Right.
and feed him and walk him. And so that's also like helped. And it's all about kind of also having a life. I think
Yeah.
a lot of writers forget that they're supposed to have a life outside of their work. That
Right.
like everything just becomes about like, the publishing industry and YA Twitter and stuff like that. And
It's true.
I'm very much like, I balance and make sure that I have a lot of friends outside of publishing. So the moment I like bring up the moment I kind of like bring up like something, they're like, huh? Like I'll be like, this thing happened. And I'm like, you're right. Like it's always my friends that kind of like check me and humble me a lot of times, which I love. So I still go out, I still party, I still, have drinks, I travel, they
Yeah.
keep me very grounded in the sense of like, I still have a life. I'm still myself. I'm still Tiffany at the end
You've
of the
got 100 books in you, and also you're doing all this other. You're
Yeah.
very connected and grounded.
Yes.
It's very good. Okay, before we move to questions, what book, like, what are you working on that's going to traumatize readers next?
So I'm working on this book called The Weight of Blood. An easy description. It's a remix of Carrie set at,
I'm so ready for this book. I just want it now.
and it's set at a school's first integrated prom. This is my first time writing in third person, like fully full
Ooh.
book. I want to just keep on telling people that because that's why I'm like having problems like editing because I was like, how do people do this like every day, every book? And I did a lot of research on telekinesis. I like, kind of I was like in a telekinesis Facebook group. That was funny.
What? I
Yeah,
love it. That
yes.
is so cool.
I go deep into research. So I was sitting there trying to figure things
Have
out.
you bent a spoon with your mind yet, Tiffany? Is that going to
I
be
mean,
like,
at one point they really did have me thinking that this is a possibility. I really was looking at a pen like, but maybe I can move it. And I was like, girl, house, like stop it. So that's my next book, which will come out next fall. So it's a whole year without
God.
anything. And a book you said a book that I'm reading right now.
Yeah, I can do, yeah. And a
Uh,
book you're reading right now.
Where is it? It's Zoraida new book. Zoraida Cordova wrote this
Oh,
book called
yes. That's on my list.
The Inheritance of Damn. Why am I like blanking? Because I just
It's
it's
that
in the
Danielle.
chat. Oh,
Yeah.
Dante wrote it. It's in the chat. Thank you. I just started that yesterday because I picked it up and I was just laughing about the fact that I pre-ordered it and I picked it up because I forgot I pre-ordered it. And I
Because
did
you're
that.
releasing 100 books. That's
That's exactly what it is.
okay. So we've got some questions. So Serena, here we have Serena.
Yeah, I will I want to combine two since you were just talking about true crime podcasts. So Corey asks, Tiffany, as a big horror fan, are you a fan of true crime as well? Do you listen to any good true crime podcasts? And I thought we'd also piggyback that off of Danielle Clayton's question, which says, I'm so excited to be here to support my boo Tiffany. What actually scares you since you love writing scary stories? And what is too scary for you to write? I'm scared of everything.
So okay, to first answer the first question about podcasts, I listen to this, it's a hilarious podcast, but this is a podcast but with these two Black women called Sisters Who Kill, and they talk about, Black women crimes, and they're hilarious because they're just kind of like, you could tell they're like drinking and doing this podcast. I'm also let me just go look. I love Crime Junkie, of course. My Favorite Murder, which I don't listen to as much, and Criminal. Unsolved Mysteries podcast is really good. It's really trying to hold me over until the show comes back. And I'm hoping the next time the show comes back, it's more than like 6 episodes. Like, come on, bro. Like, it's not that hard. And then for Donnell's question, as far as what scares me. So,
Does anything scare you?
Oh, no, there are things. So like one, I don't do clowns at all.
Clowns are the worst. Awful.
I ain't doing clowns for nothing. So even the movie It, I cannot watch, and there's reasons, but can't do clowns. Like I said, I'm really freaked out by Chucky. I'm still kind of like traumatized. So funny story, if my mom is not on here, but she's not. But so that time that I did watch the Chucky movie, I was at my cousin's house when I watched. Of course, you watch all your bad movies when you're like at someone else's house. And I was at my cousin's house, and I went home and I had one of those My Little Buddy dolls, and I was really freaked out by it. And my mom was sleeping, and it was like kind of in the middle of the night. So I took the doll and I threw it into the hallway of our. But the next day, I guess it was a holiday because I got to stay home from school and my mom had to go to work. So it was one of those type of holidays. So my babysitter came and my mom walked in the hallway, saw the doll and was like, oh, Tiffany must have just left it here. So she brought it in and put it in the bed with me. So when I woke up, there was a My Buddy doll that I knew for damn certain I threw in the hallway. She had to come home from work because I was freaking out. I went berserk. I was like, no, it came alive. And it's just no, it was bad.
I love that story. That's why you write the books you do today. It all goes back to that moment.
It was no, I can't even do My Buddy anymore. I'm just nothing. It's nothing. So that's one of the biggest reasons. Those are the biggest things that truly scare me. I'm also not big into like exorcism type stuff because I feel like that's a little too like real. I'm like, oh no, that could happen. Like I know, like I think a part of me is like I know like Michael Myers doesn't actually exist in the real world, but exorcism stuff, I'm like, nah.
Nothing.
I call it Jesus horror. I don't do Jesus horror.
That's fair. Neither does Jesus.
Okay. So the next question is from Nia Rockley. Nia says, hi, my name is Nia. I love you and your writing. My question for you today is, what is your favorite scene in White Smoke and how long did it take you to write this book?
So it took a little over a year to write it. I outlined, like when I wrote this outline, it was back in 2019. So it took some time. And, you know, a lot of times I'm a grazing writer. So I will write, like you should see my notepad in my phone. A lot of times when you see me on my phone, I'm actually writing. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, I'm just like sitting there like writing prose. So there's like a billion tabs in my notes because it looks crazy. Yes, there's 1,400 notes.
Oh my God, Tiffany.
Oh no, that was just in my cloud. In my Gmail notes, there are 3,262 notes.
Oh my God, no, wow, that's a lot.
But some of those notes are old. Like I see like prose from like Monday's Not Coming because they're like, yeah, it just madness. But my favorite chapter is chapter 18. And that's when like things really kind of hit the fan in the book. I actually read it on Instagram, so you can go, and it's not really a spoiler at all because it's just a haunted house story. So you know something's gonna happen. So it was my favorite. It took like 2 weeks to really perfect just that one chapter because I knew that it's like pivotal, and especially for like, you know, when you see horror movies, you know that there's like a point where like everything goes like crazy. So that's why it took me so long to like, and that happens. Like I don't know one author who hasn't like spent like 3 days on like a paragraph. Like they're just trying to yeah, like sometimes like scenes take a little longer, and that's okay. This is definitely not supposed to be a race.
You can't rush genius. Like you just can't.
Okay, the next question is from Addison. what helps you with any writer's block, and how do you plan out what you're going to write?
Ooh, so now that I've truly experienced writer's block, because I used to like give people this like advice because I was like, I've never had it before. So, but here's what I think you should do. Um, I definitely believe in rest. Rest is huge. So when I sit on the couch and I'm just watching horror movies, or I'm watching any random show, or if I'm just watching like rom-coms, that is rest, and that is refueling the creative well. So I really
Right.
believe in refueling the creative well. I also believe in research helping to sort of solidify something. So like if I'm stuck on a scene and the person is at a baseball field, I will go and learn about baseball. This book that the Carrie novel I'm working on right now, I know nothing about football, like nothing. And I had to go and research to figure out how, like what the hell it is, like about college football. So I had to,
Oh my God.
I watched basically like 3 seasons of like Friday Night Lights.
Everyone says that's so great, and I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's actually really good. I've never watched it before this book, so it was good. Just learning about different players and stuff like that. My work husband, Justin Reynolds, had to like go through with me like exactly how things work. But then like in the midst of all this research, you start to like something will like click, and like something will stand out to you that will make you actually want to write something, even just a random scene. And that's also too something like, you know, just writing from a different perspective, like writing from the perspective of a shoe, like in a shoe store. That also can really truly help like bring like a story to life. But yeah, I also believe in going to the locations where your stories are placed, which is sometimes incredibly impossible for like fantasy writers. Like you can't go to like Narnia, but you can kind of like think about like what that atmosphere would look like. And so I believe in Google Earth all the time. I believe in YouTube. There are like videos where people are doing like literally like walking tours.
Yeah.
Just kind of like inundating yourself in that society as well too. So yeah. So I guess that's like the biggest way of how like, you know. Oh, Donnell is actually
Daniel's live commentary in the show. And Friday Night Lights is an amazing show.
We went to do some research in Atlanta, and we were walking through a park that was apparently closed off, and the RoboCops were like not feeling us at all. But I was like, but wait.
Oh
And
no.
so yes, I believe thoroughly in research to just kind of like get your mind right for the story.
I think that lends well into the next couple questions, which are both asking for recommendations from you. The first is from Carly. What is your favorite hotel you discovered in NYC and why? And the second is from Corey. What TV shows are your go-to recommendations for people?
Okay, so favorite hotel so far has actually been the Rockaway Hotel, which is in Far Rockaway, Queens. It's a very brand new hotel. The rooms are kind of small, but the atmosphere itself, like because there's a pool, there's little cabanas, it's like a block away from the beach. They have all the amenities. You can do surfing and stuff like that. Like it was hands down one of my favorites. I'm supposed to be staying at the TWA Hotel. I'll let you guys know how that goes because that's actually really cool. It's the old hangar for TWA. And I used to fly TWA when I was a kid. So it's kind of cool for me.
You gotta start a YouTube channel with like hotel
Oh,
ratings
like
and stuff.
hotel.
Get sponsorships and let them like let you spend the night there and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to like look out for deals. Like I really want to stay at the Mandarin Oriental. Am I thinking of that right? But like rooms like for one night, just in the middle of the week is like $500. I'm like, my Jamaican spirit will not allow me to spend that type of money when I live in New York. I just can't. And TV shows. Oh, damn. Let's see. What am I watching right now?
Did you see the Mayor of Easttown? Everyone was talking about that for a hot
Everyone's
minute.
talking about that. Yeah, I haven't watched that yet. I guess because I've been like in a horror mood, so I've been watching a bunch of like horror stuff. So it's not even like a TV show. Clickbait is supposed to be really good. I watched the first episode, really, really good. And I'm trying to think of other Other series. Yeah, I guess the last couple of weeks I've just been reading and doing podcasts. I mean, listening to podcasts. I haven't really caught up with like all my TV. That's probably for next month.
And once you hit a promo cycle, it's really hard to just sit
Yeah,
down and let yourself watch anything. It always
yeah.
feels like there's something to do.
Like I've been telling everyone, like the moment my picture book drops, I'm dropping off the face of the earth. I need a whole like month off of social media just to just relax. And just chill at that point. So yeah, that was a good question.